Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking at more Hunter the Parenting Audiolog 1, Kitten and Big D's primer on the supernatural and folklore, specifically local folklore to this area in, I guess, Great Britain, maybe Scotland area. It seems northern. I don't really know because I don't know geography and anything to do with the UK. I know Scotland's north. Wales is said to exist. And everything south of Scotland, I think, is London. And I don't really know where in that map it wouldn't be. That's about all I got. People keep telling me places that are random, and this sound like there's no way someone would actually call it that, like Cockthorpe, are real. I'm just going to go out on a ledge here and say, sure, why not? That sounds fucked up enough to be real. Let's go with it. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump right in and see what kind of crazy bullshittery we have today. Because if I'm right, this is going to be the last one we look at this audio log, and I want to see what ending note they have here. Because we've gone through mages, we've gone through a bit of the vampire lore, we've gone through a lot of werewolf, and even that is just a touch on everything and how they're all related to different stories. And I want to see what the final note is, and I'm looking forward to this. So if you haven't already, link below, original video, hit it up. And when you're done, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let's get started.
I understand.
Good. Because it's all the time!
That's where we ended. I just wanted to hear that again.
Fear not! It's just the way
Burn to a
like
crisp
it.
and possibly going to commit war crimes?
And now
Yep.
the sauce.
The sauce?
Supposed to smell more like egg than eggs do.
Yep.
Why are you putting it in the blender?
Oh, to blend it. Yes, sir. Big D's home-style omelet.
I don't know what it says about me. About out of all the stuff he's saying, the fact that he's going with an almost what seems like Old Norse style of pronunciation of egg, with an umlaut over the E and A and double G. Also, it could be more Germanic at that point. I don't really know. I just know it's not the normal spelling. Out of all of that, and the part that seems the weirdest to me, even including the arsenic and possible war crimes used to get some of the ingredients necessary for it, putting it in the blender is where I'm going, okay, that's just weird. Also, it's not an omelet at that point. It's scrambled eggs. Dude, get it right.
AKA sulfuric acid.
What?
You're not eating that, right?
Silly boy.
Sulfuric
I
acid?
would probably die or throw up.
Why are you making it then?
This is for our illustrious guest, the great and mighty
He's
Kevin.
feeding sulfuric acid to Kevin?
I understand. Wait, there are way easier ways to make acid. I understand nothing.
It's the principle of the thing. Besides, Kevin is a vampire. They can't eat food. By mixing the acid with food, it makes it even more unpleasant.
Yeah, that's kind of genius. Egg torture. We have reached egg torture. Okay. Tell me what I want to know or I'll give you the eggs. Is apparently an actual viable threat that he's now carrying out. I don't like that it makes sense now that we have context. Because now it's not him being crazy. Now it's him being crazy and well thought out. Which fits with everything else showing him in this entire video and every previous part of it, because it's been like, I'm crazy, but only because you don't actually have the context to understand what decisions I'm making and why I'm doing them. And here we see, yes, the crazy ass omelet is also literally a method he's using to torture. I fully expect him to also say, oh, and I'm also going to take a taste because it's good. Reminds me of home. I fully expect him to say that.
Is that gonna kill him?
Probably not.
I mean, well,
Maybe?
I don't, I don't know, but...
Well, you're about to find out.
This is just for torture purposes.
You mean fun?
Somehow that's even worse.
Relax, it's actually very funny and moral.
What?
And besides...
How is it moral?
It's the threat of torture that's the most important. That old tree mare will crack like an egg before I have to use this stuff. Mark my words.
Really? Crack like an egg? You've been referring to the torture as an omelet this entire time? Thing is, I have enough faith in the writers who do this that I know they're not just throwing that out there because it's just a random phrase that sounds good. It is. But you know, they were aware of the pun they just made. I'm not even mad. I'm just like, really? Out of all this time and now you make the egg pun? It feels like a throwaway pun, but it works perfectly in context.
Yes, that is the name of one of the vampire clans. Everyone hates them and wants them to die.
Do go on, sir.
I have no idea what Treme is. I know people talk, but it mostly went over my head.
Bloodlines, families, impersonal syndicates? Do they confer abilities? What are their secrets? Are there any Norfolk clans? What are the other ones? What's an antediluvian within this context? Why does Piotr hate them?
Son-in-law!
Okay, one, I don't think antediluvians have been mentioned at all this entire time in universe. At least it might have come up in the second episode. No, I don't think in the first episode anyone ever mentioned antediluvian. I know I got a lot of comments talking about, which is why my memory is not entirely sure, because I might be confusing the comments I read with the video I watched, which is a weird thing, but I do that because my memory is shit. But that means, one, Kitten now has an extreme interest in them and might be wondering if he's a vampire himself, because it does kind of fit with the entire, hey, I'm not going to sun right now, ever. I love that he has goggles and he actually just puts these on top of it. Actually, it would be funny if his entire deal is that he's basically the ascended Buddha-style vampire everyone keeps talking about, whose name I cannot, I can't. I've seen people write the word about this state of being and or person who achieve essentially vampire, why can't I speak to it? Vampire, there we go, enlightenment, where they're basically human again, but sometimes they keep the powers. It's like, this is cool, I can walk around the sun. I wonder if he's just the random guy who happened to do that without getting any further, just happened to reach enlightenment without power. Which I would laugh my ass off at if that's his entire bit. And, you know, just this. I doubt it. That would be stupid. That would be broken. I kind of want it to happen for that reason. Two, he knows a lot about them because that sudden scrawl showed a lot more awareness of terms. Maybe not understanding of them, but at least hearing of them. So he's looked into this one before more than anything else. Also, he was really interested to see if there was clans where he lived. I'm assuming they're living in Norfolk. Or Norfolk? Folk? However you say it in British.
I have two cruel truths to impart upon you.
Only two?
Okay.
The first is, you will need to buy a new blender.
Yeah.
The second, vampire lore is...
Confusing as fuck.
Tricky.
I can't believe I'm going to say this for a TTS, but just based on everyone trying to keep it simple in the comments to explain anything from White Wolf, not just World of Darkness, but World of Darkness 1, the new World of Darkness, the old World of Darkness, connected things that are apparently not canon, and then all the other things that just occasionally are touched by the property owners that aren't actually this, but people think they might be. Tricky. Big D. Apparently he's a master of understatement.
More than any other supernatural creature, vampires despise being unveiled. They relentlessly hunt any breach of their
some of them hate
secrecy with organized and military precision. As
really,
such,
military precision.
Though I know much, I speak little of it, and sadly share even less.
Oh, of course, but surely you can trust your own family.
Not when there's
Trust
vampires
has
in the
little
house.
to do with it. Say I share all that I know. Indeed, to truly destroy this foe, we must understand. But if I do so carelessly, notice how the conversation started. I carelessly said the word Tremere.
Yes?
If we were in public, in a restaurant, or on the street when I had said that, we would very well have to move.
That's a tad extreme.
And it is necessary.
Oh.
The masquerade, they call it. To wear the mask of a human. To blend in with us. To convince us their existence is but a fairy tale. Any breach in this masquerade is a threat to their very existence. For even though they are individually more powerful, they fear mankind more than anything else.
Huh. Now, this is interesting. When it came to mages, he basically said they were powerful, and upper end, yeah, we'll fuck you up. Lower end, you won't really deal with it, because they're going to just not be noticed and get out of the way. And all the different things. The only time he got this serious this fast was werewolves. Specifically, how to deal with a werewolf, where he went very serious. And there, it was the equivalent of fear. It was, you know you're dealing with something that can fuck you up. And you must treat it with the respect it deserves for the power it can demonstrate. Here, though, it's similar. He's giving them respect and he's being serious, but, and this might just be my interpretation, for all I know, I could be very off, so take it with all the grains of salt there is. He's not describing vampires and their adherence to the masquerade in the same terms of absolute fear and certainty. It's more similar but different in scope. Where there was respect demanded for every werewolf because they will fuck you up and you have to be serious. Here, it's more a matter of, I might not fear them individually. I'm not really that scared of them collectively. But we're not going to deal with that. It's less the fear of an individual crazy person, but the fear of a collective group of crazy people. It's like the difference in a horror movie between one serial killer who the movie's based on, and then a movie where it's an entire group of people who are insane. Sure, you might be able to beat a bunch of them, but you know you're going to fail at the end because it's like a zombie horde coming to get you. You're gonna lose. Unless you just happen to have a chainsaw as your right arm, left arm, whatever. Yeah, it's that. It's the difference between fear of the individual and then by extension the group, and fear of the group, but not so much the individual at the base level. But also because for werewolves, he was very much treating that intensity as don't fuck with them at all. This is don't fuck with their sensibilities of the masquerade. It's so similar in how he's reacting, but it shows that he knows exactly where to go, how far he will go, and what he can't say, even in the fact that he slipped up and said a word because he's been telling stories, which also is a very nice point that they put this last, because the analogy he uses about saying, see, I slipped up, if that had been the very first story they used, as far as a writing trope goes, it would not work. Because while you could just say, okay, yeah, sure, he slipped up, yes, it's the conversation, we'll just throw it out there. It doesn't really fit if you want to look into it. This is more of a writing critique for the actual audiolog itself right now. If they had done this earlier, they wouldn't have built up the incredulity of him being serious, which we built up to finally getting serious moments in the werewolf section previously. This one, there's not even a story to present it. It's just a mention he made, and they're jumping straight into the lore. It's just well done. Not because they had to push it to the end, but because if they had pushed it sooner, we wouldn't have not just had the fact that he could be serious, but the fact that he knows information, because we've been getting bits and pieces up till here, to build that he has knowledge we don't know. Because in the first episode, and the second episode he wasn't in, he was, technically he had knowledge, but it was just like a throwaway joke at the end. It was very much a case of, how to put it, he knows more, and we've seen that by what he mentions that isn't supernatural, but all the things around it, all the allusions to things he's aware of and lived through. So we know he's an information vault. Some of it slips through, which is why we got so many references to that. And by the time we get here, we're so used to him giving us information and things that were secret and things that are hard to come by, that when he finally says, okay, this is an information security issue, it gives it more credence because everything else that was horrible, even made him serious, weren't. And it also does explain why he didn't tell anyone anything else because of the end of the second episode where he didn't tell them about some of the stuff vampires did, because then they might slip on the street and they just fuck them over militarily as opposed to an individual vampire fucking them up personally. The military response seems to be the more likely one to happen, so he was preparing them against that, which is why he didn't tell them something so they couldn't slip up and say something. Which, based on what they've done so far, would probably be Marcus talking about without realizing someone was listening. Yeah. Not even boy, Marcus. Sorry, there's so many aspects about just this section right now that only work because other previous sections built up to it. It's just really well written.
They are few, and we are many. Should wider society discover their existence, man might well eradicate them.
Which is probably the only group that could happen on.
While an especially mighty vampire could slay 100 mortals, there is a limit to their strength.
And when they're out, they're out.
Few break easily, but all break.
And the ones that are the very strong break everything.
Their most hated enemy, the sun. Its ancient rays scorch even the eldest of their kind to charcoal bone.
I've heard there's something
Vampires cannot be rid of their great adversaries, for the sun is beyond their reckoning and humanity vital to their survival.
Global mirrors, I wonder if
Thus,
that would have
most
effect.
work to preserve their masquerade, hiding in the dark, carefully balanced upon webs of intrigue and murder.
Very much the
To further
political
this
group, it
end,
seems.
vampires have many agents.
What is a ghoul, then?
Ghouls, they call them.
Oh,
Mortals
addicted to vampire blood.
addicted to
Ugh.
vampiric blood. These huff men gain a whisper of their master's power in exchange for fanatical servitude.
Huh.
Unlike their masters, though, ghouls need not slumber by day.
I touched my glasses.
Their eyes are everywhere, and they watch vigilantly for the slightest breach of undead omerta.
Omerta?
This is
Don't
why
actually know
we
that word.
hunters are responsible for the vampire threat. We learn as much of the vampire as we can and spread it safely to...
Okay, from sheer lore perspective right here, that is kind of brilliant. Not because having eyes and ears everywhere is that unique. It's that the way they achieve that is someone fanatically loyal to it, but based on an addiction that they have basically become, well, addicted to. And if they can be anywhere and anyone can do it, it's almost useless because you wouldn't be able to tell, I assume, if someone's a ghoul. Because a ghoul is just a title, not a state of being. They might get power, but honestly, that's the less scary thing about them. As far as I'm concerned, anyone being able to just act as a vampire's eyes because of an addiction where they become fanatical servants, they're willing to do anything. That's, if anyone could be an eye of basically a political mastermind, that gives that mastermind a lot more power. I'm a big fan of information security, and just this right here is probably why he's so much into it. Why he is taking them as a threat. It's not because they can't be beaten, which it almost sounds like when he was talking about werewolves, it was maybe at best a likelihood that they will die. And even then, likely at best is probably overstating their odds of survival, let alone winning, by a lot. Here, it's more, you can't fight them because you would never have the initiative. You would always be on the back foot if you do anything that would be too open. Huh. It's such a good way to build them up as a credible threat while also showing that they're weaker but more pervasive and more insidious and harder to fight because you never actually get to the fight. It's just kind of brilliant to show a completely different style of menace.
To ensure these parasites become the forgotten myths they pretend to be. Even this is a treacherous task, for we cannot know which parts of our collected vampiric lore are mistaken assumption, the earnest truth, or malignant
And if they ask too many
propaganda.
questions, or they ask the right question,
I see.
they get dead.
So rest assured, I will teach you what I know.
But
But slowly. They might not blood hunt you for knowing a word or two, but they certainly will if you know their meaning.
And what is a blood hunt?
They'll kill you for knowing what that is too. Which is dumb, because it's kind of just what it sounds like.
and now they're going to kill him. Seriously, the biggest information threat out there to these guys is probably him, just because when he gets going, he talks.
Every vampire in the region hunting you for your blood.
Hard to figure out.
Very-
Reach not our veil of secrecy. Vampires are so silly.
Still,
Yeah,
it'd be nice to know what we're dealing with.
bloodsuckers.
For instance, Piotr flashed in and out of visibility on the security cameras, and I swear that 8-Boy gets uglier every time I see him.
Great Boy was the Marcus of the group, right?
Absolutely.
Fuck 'em.
Oh yeah, fuck him.
But yes, your questions are valid.
Okay, 1, we know Kitten's kink now. 2, I think they made that in very, very different ways. Yeah, well, it just... I'm sorry, I just love it how they're saying the exact same thing and meaning completely different things about it. I love this. That's just
Let
good
me say
writing.
this then. Piotr, that sludge lad?
Sledge lad?
Not the right term, is it?
Oh no.
Edgelord?
But that clan of vampire info brokers
Oh.
is one of the scariest ones to actually know. Sludge lad is just fine for now. We're going with sludge lad. Primarily, they are known for 4 things.
Okay, so there actually is a clan of flat-out information brokers, and knowing them would be the scariest because they would have information on you to give to someone else. And considering the masquerade, that wouldn't be a really quick way to get yourself not alive. Yeah, that makes sense.
First, their ability to turn invisible.
Annoying.
Some can even use vampiric magics to alter their appearance, appearing as something they're not. Second, their ability to control
Annoying.
animals. Sludge
Oh, he's trying not to say the name of
Nosferatu. To
Nosferatu.
use legions of vermin as their eyes and ears.
Huh, didn't realize it was
After
Nosferatu he was
all,
talking about.
Who better to eavesdrop than the rats in your wall?
Cockroaches?
All the worse
flies?
when they're ghouled by their undead masters.
Can you
and
undead
gain
a
a
fly?
smattering of their vampiric magics.
That explains your intense pest control methods.
Listen, I raised Dor on a steady diet of home-hunted spy rats, and look at him! He came out American! Isn't it awful?
And
Wait. He came out American because of what he ate? Is he not actually American? Please, please, please let him be Canadian. I just want that to be a thing. Just make it a thing that he's actually Canadian. And he's going North American. It technically counts, but the technically doesn't really matter
the
here.
third and fourth things?
Thing 3 is that they're ugly.
Very.
Oh.
But ugly.
Ah.
Don't pity them. Honestly, some of them make it work.
Really?
Oh, God.
How do they make it? Oh, Pugly, yeah.
When he called me Loverboy, when I said he looked hideous, did Piotr think I was hitting on him?
Yes.
I can't say for sure, but also, yes, definitely that was the case. Fear not! I will
Kitten,
not inform my
the
son
vampire
about your tryst
Litterer.
with the sewer
Litterer.
child. Oh, the fourth thing. They're super strong and can juggle dumpsters.
Oh. Oh, no. We have him in a tiny cage. Is that going to hold?
Well, if he hasn't broken out.
On the one hand, well, that changed. Actually, no, it didn't. He didn't break out of the cage at any point. They let him out. 2, I'll be honest, between all those things, the super strength isn't the one that's the scariest. I mean, it's good to make an impact, like literally the door impact specifically. Not 2 door, but I'm sure that will happen in the 3rd episode when it finally comes out. But just having super strength is very limiting. It's crazy strong, and if you're in punching or throwing range, it's terrifying. But the information broker aspect, I think, would be way more dangerous because it can involve so many worse things happening. I think right there is actually scarier. Granted, it doesn't make for nearly as good drama, so it's probably going to be glossed over. But still, that's probably scarier than the strength.
Did Dor make the cage?
Maybe?
If he did, no worries. If he didn't, why didn't he?
Did he actually make the
That's
door?
true.
Well, the lad could be biding his time.
Didn't even
Or
need
he
to.
figures he can't break through the big vault that is our cellar, so he's waiting for his chance to escape.
There's also the other alternative that your sons didn't have information you didn't think they would be dumb enough to use badly. So they did something to find out on their own and made it worse. And you actually made a smart choice based on the information you had at hand, fearing the overall response rather than in the individual, which is usually the case of what would be more fucked up. But in this case, it wasn't. Also, the big vault is the cellar, and he got out of that one easily, so he probably could have broken out of the cell. On the other hand, just from a sheer momentum standpoint, if you actually can't build up any kind of motion, it's very hard to start moving or get more leverage or more force. So if you're really constrained, it's just hard to do things. It's why straitjackets are a thing, because even if someone's super strong, if you have no leverage, it's very hard to do anything. And he was crammed in that cell, not as hard as some of the others, but pretty tight, which would have constrained a lot of movement, so he wouldn't have been able to really exercise his strength to the best capabilities that he had. Also, they literally let him out of it, and by the time they realized that was a dumb idea, he was strong enough where the cellar would actually be a big thing.
Or he could just not be very strong.
And that's also the case, yeah.
I see.
I mean, I guess there is a range.
Or, well, I mean, Marcus insists his kick was pretty alright.
Oh, vampires are capable of some superhuman physical feats.
All of them are?
But he probably couldn't throw a car or whatever, drained as he is.
Because they had to literally bleed him.
Bloody, then. It seems like a pretty big weakness if their strength is beholden to their amount of blood.
Yes, being a vampire is a fine deal.
Oh?
Until you notice the many caveats. For instance, and their strength is weakened with every generation.
Oh.
With each new passing of the supernatural disease that is vampirism, the power within the blood of each new child lessens. Additionally, the vampire's unique magics are like any other mundane skill.
Oh?
Some come intuitively, others start at different levels of expertise.
Oh.
But all must have time and effort put into them.
So people have always mentioned the entire thing about generations of vampires getting weaker as they go on, but more they focus on if you go up a generation level by consuming another, you get stronger. I'm wondering, though, how many generations would it be at this point? Because I know they're pretty far down, that a vampire is functionally just immortal. Maybe not even immortal, but just functionally a person who has an allergic reaction to the sun. At what point, how many further generations at the rate they're decreasing would that have been? That if the new world of darkness hadn't replaced the old one, that vampires would have erased themselves as a problem because stupidity and attrition would have got rid of the old ones. It almost seems like given enough, well, I guess millennia, it would have become a self-serving or self-correcting problem. Of course, that didn't happen because the world got ended and they went to New World instead, which is a better sandbox from what I've heard, less of a good story.
It could be that Pyotr has simply not mastered the vampiric art of potence, or has only honed it to a slight edge.
It'd account for his performance.
I'm sorry. So basically, he was impotent and had bad performance because of it. I'm a 5-year-old at heart. I realize that.
Almost back in the tunnels, I suppose. He seemed like he'd be tougher than he was.
His kind are sometimes brawlers.
But not always.
But Pyotr himself, he seems like an opportunist to the core.
And if information was his thing,
seems
yeah.
his element. The real danger comes from which of his other skills he's applied himself to.
So invisibility...
Probably
or
invisibility.
Animal control.
Him being able to disappear even on camera tells me his specialty might actually be invisibility. Not everyone is capable of that little hat trick.
And probably a lot more
Or
dangerous
ugly.
overall.
Yeah, he's really honed that into an art.
I've seen ugly.
Oh, God.
Fair enough.
In Happisborough.
If the next thing is that it wasn't actually a vampire he saw, but just someone who is maybe royal, and if you get the reference I'm making by saying someone in the UK is royal by a way to reference how ugly they are, yeah, you've seen some of the, let's just put it this way, for a long time, the genetic diversity did not fork. Let's just leave it at that.
Shit.
When are they going to knock that place off the map? Now
He
then,
really doesn't like it.
This has been a delightful conversation about essentially everything in the world. I must now go pour terrible slime down Kevin's gaping maw.
I thought it was just a
Before
threat.
that, be very cautious during tonight's interrogation. I'm sure everything will go well.
Yeah,
Just
sure, well.
remember, even a feeble opportunist like Pyotr can be the death of you.
Duly noted.
And he's not feeble anymore.
Underestimating any supernatural quarry is a very bad idea.
Exactly. My performance in the caves is evidence of that. I am the most experienced and skilled hunter of this family.
Yeah.
Yet, when I let my guard down, an inferior foe holds me at knife point. This is something you must truly understand.
Hunting isn't as simple as a video game or an action movie, huh?
I am not a video gamer, so this absurd language doesn't touch me. Commando, however, is an excellent piece of cinema, so I'll say yes. You get.
Commando? Okay, this is just more of a personal question. I don't know of a movie called Commando. I'm not sure if he's making a wrong reference to a different movie, or if that's actually one I just haven't heard of. So if anyone knows, let me know. I'm just kind of curious.
It.
Say, what was up with those tunnels anyway?
I will
a lot of
tell
them.
you when you're older, by a few days at least. Because I'm tired of these questions.
Aw.
Oh, he didn't tell him a
But
story
I
the first
guess I should
time.
probably get a move on myself. Breakfast cancelled. I've got to
Probably
buy
a new
blender,
plate of
it
eggs as
seems.
well.
It
Or a new
does indeed seem that way, child. Want me to drive you?
Everything that touched you
I'm
probably want
fine.
to get rid of.
I'll take the runabout. Less gas spent, you know?
Ah, yes.
Runabout?
Money and all that.
What's a runabout?
Well, good
Whatever, it's
fortune
probably
in
a
the
British
world,
thing.
and fare thee well.
Farewell, I shall.
And son, know that I am very proud of you
He's being serious.
and your blender.
Thank you.
Ta-ta!
Adios!
We are in.
We're in Mexico today, and he went crazy. Also, the blender was good enough that it survived making sulfuric acid. that they had to get rid of it rather than already not having it anymore? I'm going to be completely honest, I'm kind of jealous. That is a pretty damn sturdy blender.
Mexico today!
And he's passed out.
Damnable penguins. Bloody bones.
What the hell is that?
Chemical monsters. Damnation.
Is he drinking the sulfuric acid? It kind of sounds like he is. Huh.
You have listened to an audio drama by Ogre Poppingham.
What? And that was the end of the audio log. And overall, all I gotta say is, holy shit, that was Streamstormer's voice at the end doing the outro narration? Holy shit, man! I'm not having audio jealousy, but it's like the first time I heard Tex's voice from Tex Talks Battletech. God damn it, I'm just jealous. I know Tex has a voice that's due to other issues, but goddamn Streamstorm. It's just like, seriously, man. You're supposed to be like reading that kind of stuff and like, yes, I am Batman. But not having the over-the-top growl that sounds like you're having a chest cold at the same time. Personal take. More importantly, I just love so many aspects about that ending. I know I went over this in exhaustive detail because it hit me how well things were structured so that it fit the best. They could have got away with putting some things in earlier, but they didn't, and I think it worked out better that way because we got so much more detail about how how Big D viewed aspects, how he viewed information security, why he needed to view information security in such a way, because vampires are normally a threat in the collective because they will go after you as a collective. Which is weird because we already know from the end of the first episode that they are aware of the hunters and tacitly using them as bagman so they don't have to get involved, which I'm guessing is more politics, which seems to be their thing. But they wouldn't know that. They would never be allowed to know that, and they probably would be killed if they became aware of it. So he has his information. He has knowledge that giving that information out is bad, and he's probably well old enough to have been pissed at everyone else enough that he wants to be a hunter still, but also is crazy as F. Sane. Very sane by comparison to what I thought he was, but still really fucked in the head. For every question about this is answered, showing more about him, it just raises more questions. What really is he? He is a hunter because that's what he's doing. But is he anything else? I don't know, and I just love all the speculation. I love getting into it. I love finding out more about the World of Darkness, and there's just so much cool stuff going on. I want more. You have no idea how hard it's going to be next week to be like, hey, is there another thing from Alfabusa? I'm spoiled because episode 2 and this audio log came out so close together. It was great. And now we have to wait for more. It'll be worth it when it comes out, though, because, I mean, it's Alfabusa. They do awesome jobs. They have, technically, him and his entire crew and everyone working on it, which is now a pretty large cast, actually. Also, the fact that Oculus Imperia does script work. Holy shit. That's just cool. But yeah, if you haven't already, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. This was just really damn good. The writing was good. The stories were good. I wish they had brought together a story that would have led into vampires. But at the same time, I think it was a better choice not to, because not having it in showed the importance of that little slip and why that mattered. And that probably was the entire point of why vampires were, in his estimation, worse as a collective, not the individual. Because he's not going after anyone individually who could fuck them up that hard. And now one of them's in his house after the second episode. Yeah. I'm sure that's going to go fine. Yeah. I just want the next episode. Damn it. I'm a bit excited. Again, link below, original video. Hit it up. And we're done. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.